Welcome back to the BetCanada channel. Katie Caldwell and Jeff Lloyd back here with you. Jeff, the news out of Jets camp today. So, new quarterback Justin Fields was carted into the locker room with what was called a lower leg injury. The more info we get doesn't sound nearly as bad as we initially feared. So, Rappaport reporting that it is a dislocated non-big toe for Justin Fields after being stepped on. Man, I still got a feel for Jets fans, man. What kind of setback is this for the Jets' new look offense? And does this shift the tone of camp before it even really started?
The thing is, and it was almost like this was like reported backwards. Justin Field, the first one, Justin Fields was, carted off the field. And,
Yeah.
automatically, Jets fans, people is coming back and forth. And then it's, oh, well, Justin Field walked into the medical tent and then they drove him back on the cart. Well, if any part of his leg was hurting, obviously no one's going to say, well, we'll just walk back, hoof it, kid.
Yeah.
So, oh, then his right shoe is off. And then, 5 minutes later, he actually when the initial injury happened, he actually tried to go in the next snap, and that's when the pain was too great, and he kind of basically just shut himself down and walked into the
Mhm.
tent. So obviously positive reports early for the New York Jets. I'm sure, almost every Jet fan, doomed. You know what I'm saying? What else would you feel? You had Aaron Rodgers, in 2023 for, I mean, what was it, 3 snaps before it all fell apart. For the Jets, this is crucial because there's things that really look good on this Jets roster. Extended your stud quarterback, a cornerback, extended your stud wide receiver. If you got some pass rushers, you got some guys who can run the ball. Um, they don't know necessarily what they have in Justin Fields, though. That is the one biggest
Right.
issue here. So the biggest alert was if there was going to be missed time with Justin Fields, that was probably going to be an issue.
Mhm.
And then, of course, everybody, oh, is Kirk Cousins going to go to the Jets? Is Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco from the Browns going to go play? Both Jersey guys, are they going to go play? And, so everything just gets it obviously it's because we're all so excited. Most of it is that we're
Exactly.
so excited to have a game back and all of us to be back to be doing what we're doing here, what we love to do. So for the Jets, obviously a cautious moment. um, you're going to take your time with it. What is he able to do in practices? Is he going to shadow for a day or two while the toe, hopefully, probably got put back into place and the swing goes down. But, our first, shock and aura of, training camps for summer 2025, apparently seems to have, gone down and gone down really quickly. Maybe looks to be much ado about nothing, but for the Jets, I'm sure there was probably an anxious moment or two there for a second. Yes.
Well, because they really have made this offseason about building around Justin Fields. Like, how much does this shake the foundation of that plan? Because, like you said, they don't really know what they're gonna get in Justin Fields. You really would have liked a full, proper offseason with no injuries before and then all through training camp too.
Certainly, and, look, things are, very a lot of newness, of course, with New York Jets. Aaron
Right.
Glenn, former New York Jet first round pick, was part of, really good Bill Parcells New York Jets teams. Aaron Glenn was a guy that, people were just waiting. This name had been there for, a couple of years now that
Yeah.
this was going to be potentially a head coach to be. It was just going to be what was the best opportunity, for said team and certainly for Aaron Glenn. And the opportunity, to go back to a place where he was certainly comfortable with, he's had some success with. And it feels like the vibe has kind of changed in regards,
Mm.
certainly to the New York Jets. And Tyrod Taylor is a backup, not bad, but we've kind of seen the Tyrod Taylor story before. Was the Cleveland Browns quarterback before it was Baker Mayfield? Was the Chargers quarterback before there was some sort of improper injection done by a team doctor, and that started the Justin Herbert
Right.
error earlier than maybe the Chargers were going to. So it's not like there's, and with Fields only being on a 1-year deal, it's certainly a lot going on there for the Jets.
Yeah.
Things go perfectly. Fields plays well. They sniff the playoffs, maybe sneak wild card, and then all of a sudden, Justin Fields maybe is the guy there for a couple of years in New York. This was probably certainly a tense, quick moment for Justin Fields as well. Here was the
Mhm.
opportunity that he's been waiting for. Since leaving the Bears, went to Pittsburgh. Obviously, as soon as he got there, then it was Russell Wilson, and then now, of course, here with the Jets. So for the Jets, though, getting Fields in there, and look, I mean, I still am stunned that Justin Field has kind of struggled with the way he has. I mean, him at Ohio State, I didn't see anything there that didn't say that this guy was it. I mean,
Me either.
we all knew he had good athleticism, but at
Mhm.
Ohio State and with all those great wide receivers, I mean, they were airing it out everywhere. Everybody was making plays. And always kind of a guy that I'm kind of rooting for because I think he kind of just got the raw deal in Chicago,
Mhm.
and they gave them the opportunity to go ahead and draft Caleb Williams after they
Yeah.
screwed up Justin Fields. And now that enough for them to finally say, "Oh, well, you know what? Maybe it's not the quarterbacks, maybe it's the system, maybe it's the coaching staff."
Yeah.
But, obviously all is well right now for Justin Fields and, hopefully, Jets fans, are breathing a little bit easier at this point.
Yeah. Quick pause. If you haven't subscribed to the BetCanada YouTube channel, you can do so below. It's free and it helps support our channel so we can keep bringing you NFL and NHL content. Now, back to the show. If he does miss time, is Tyrod Taylor ready to hold this offense together, or do they need to simply look elsewhere? I'm someone that, man, I've always been a fan of Tyrod Taylor. I feel like every time we've seen him when he steps into these positions, he's played really well. Is he an option, or do they start looking at a Kirk Cousins, maybe one of the Browns many quarterbacks, Giants many quarterbacks?
It would have to be if there was something serious, and I guess to this point, we're
Okay.
being told that it's probably not something serious. And look, and that's the thing where this is going to be difficult for the Jets because if there's anything slightly hampering Fields, you got to put the pause button on him. You
Mhm.
can't put him out there because this is an important year for Justin Fields. This is obviously an important year for Jets. As they is Fields our guy? Are we looking to what everybody thinks might be a really nice looking 2026 quarterback draft class? So it's a tough spot for that. But if it was a week or to say, oh, we're going to be cautious, we're going to hold them out week one, then of course Tyrod Taylor is, more than able to suffice. And nobody's alone in that. Tyrod Taylor's always been a well liked, well established
Yeah.
guy. And if you look at Fields and you think what Justin Fields could be, Tyrod, pretty accurate arm, wasn't very strong, was able to do some things with the legs. Justin Fields would kind of maybe be like a little bit stronger, better version of Tyrod Taylor. And for Justin Fields, I'm hoping that this is going to be an opportunity he's been seeking, since a rough start with Chicago and obviously not the greatest run for him. He was playing well in Pittsburgh. The team was 4-1. You knew eventually the switch was going to come to Russell Wilson. It did. And then for Justin Fields, he kind of got put on the back burner. And, honestly, Pittsburgh probably should have pulled the plug again and put him back in. They didn't, however. But Fields, hopefully, greener pastures here in New York.